Hello, welcome to today's Tax Talk. I'm your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. We're going to talk about IRS notices. One of the first things, right? First thing when you owe the IRS money, first thing they're going to do, they're going to send you a bunch of mail. And what happens is a lot of people don't even open it up because they're afraid. So let's talk about that. That's what we're going to talk about today on today's Tax Talk. You got a letter from the IRS? Now what? Okay, so you get a letter from the IRS. They're coming after you. Too many of my clients, right, what they do is they don't do anything. I can't tell you how many people have come to see me and they have a bag of unopened mail from the IRS, or they have a bunch of letters that are opened, and then they admit to me that they opened them on the way over to see me. So people are afraid of the IRS letters. They all look the same, right? If you're married and you have multiple years due, you get letters like crazy because they send each one of you a letter. Then they send for each year. So there's multiple letters. You get them all the time. They all look very similar, and everybody assumes that they are similar. And the truth is they're not the same. They have different. The IRS has a statutory obligation to provide so many different notices. Many of these notices go out automatically, and so now they leave it to you to figure out what they're trying to do, what they're trying to tell you. And again, too many people they get the notice from the IRS. They know that they owe the IRS money, or they haven't filed their tax returns, and they just don't want to face it, right? And they don't want to deal with it. And I get that. It's tough enough owing the IRS money, but then having them send things to you all the time gets depressing. And so again, many people do is they just don't open them anymore. And again, I'm going to go through a couple of them with you, but and you'll see in just a minute. There's so many, I can't tell you what's in yours. But there's ways to find out, and I'm going to show you how to do that, how to figure out what it is that letter or their IRS notice is actually, what that means, what they're trying to do, where you are in the process, because there's a whole process about this. So, I am a tax professional, as you well know, and one of the things that means is that they send me emails every day and tell me what they're talking about. So I saw a lot of articles in the news today about notices, IRS notices. So, and I look at my email and I get that from the IRS. What's in the notice? What people should and should not do. Well, let's pull it up and then you'll see what I'm talking about. So, what people should and should not do if they get mail from the IRS. So this is another, bullet points, what you can do, what you should do. Of course, they think you should pay yesterday. And of course, if you could have paid yesterday, you probably would have. So there's something up that why you didn't. And so every year the IRS mails letters or notices to taxpayers for many different reasons. Typically, it's about a specific issue with the taxpayer's federal tax return or tax account. A notice may tell them about changes to their account or ask for more information. It could also tell them they need to make a payment. This year, people might have also received correspondence about economic impact payments or an advanced child tax credit outreach letter. My camera malfunctioned. So more letters than usual. Actually, the IRS took a year off, stopped sending any letters for at least a year for COVID. So they were not sending any balance letters. They didn't want to upset anybody, I guess. but they stopped sending the letters. Of course, they didn't have anybody. These are mostly automatic, but there was nobody else to put them in a bin or something and send them out. So here's some do's and don'ts for anyone who receives mail from the IRS. Usually these things are pretty self-explanatory, kind of obvious. So don't ignore it. Now, that seems obvious, but so many people ignore it. And again, because they don't understand, that, yeah, I know I owe the IRS money. But again, there's a process and step-by-step process that the IRS must go through before they can take anything away from you. And many of them look very onerous, these notices. I have come to the conclusion, and they changed these notices a couple of years ago, that they used to be more, I think, reflective of their true character. So, for instance, when they had the notice of the final notice of intent to levy, there was big letters it said final notice of intent to levy, and your right to an appeal. And that one is very critical because you have 30 days to file something. When they give you the right to appeal, you have 30 days to file for an appeal and stop any collection activity. Sometimes you'll get a notice that says notice of intent to levy, but it's not a final notice of intent to levy, and they make it look like a final notice of intent to levy. As I mentioned a couple of years ago, I think they changed that final notice into one that says final notice. So it doesn't get you, especially after you've received so many different notices from the IRS. This one doesn't stand out. I think they should make it in a different color or something and stand out and say, this is it. This is the final one. But I think, the earlier ones, they make look like the final one, so they get you to act. And the final one, they get to look like that it's not the final one, because if you don't act, they can start taking things away from you. And so maybe they don't want you to act. At least that's what I've come to the conclusion of. Okay, so again, don't ignore it. Seems like a simple advice, but it's true that many people with IRS problems ignore it. So most IRS letters are federal tax. Each notice deals with a specific issue and includes specific instructions on what to do. Don't throw it away. Well, because a lot of times you got to bring it, and it'll have a number on there, and a telephone number or somebody you should contact if you have a revenue officer who to contact, things like that, and then what year they're after, what the issue is. It says don't panic. Well, that's why people ignore it, because they don't want to panic. So they don't want, so they just don't look at it. Then they won't panic. Don't reply unless instructed to do so. Actually, you should, if you know you owe the IRS money, you should always reply. Although, again, most people don't. Do take timely action. Well, of course, this is the IRS telling you to take timely action. Timely action would have been filing your tax return on time or paying on time. And that's up to them now. That's what they say. Do review the information. Well, again, you should probably read it and understand what they're telling you, what's on there. Do respond to disputed notice. So if they say something, for instance, that I had a case last week, a woman received a notice from the IRS. They counted a 1099 that she received twice. And they got a notice. She said, we looked at your tax returns. You forgot to put this on. She put it in writing, sent it to him, said, no, this is a mistake. Well, that was from 2014. We're still fighting that fight. Okay, but at least she has correspondence backup to the IRS that shows that she's been debating this or objecting to this since the very beginning. Do remember there is usually no need to call the IRS. Well, that's true. Here's the thing. They don't answer 84% of their phone calls. So even if you call, you won't get through. Do avoid scams. Well, that's very good advice, but if you could avoid the scam and you knew it was a scam, you would avoid it. But the problem is you don't always know it's a scam. Usually the IRS is not going to call you. They're never going to ask for money over the phone. Never going to ask for money over the phone. So just remember that. So if someone calls you to try to scam you, if I never pay them over the phone, they're never going to get any money from me. If I send any money, I'm going to send it to the IRS. And then whoever's trying to scam me, they're never going to be able to scam me. So as I mentioned that this was in an email today, so there's some websites that came up with their own stuff. Here's one. Received an IRS notice. Here's what to do. And then they go through, everybody's getting notices. Review the letter carefully. Search the notice number on the IRS's website. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that next. I think what happens is, as I mentioned, there are so many different notices from the IRS that some people get confused about what they are, and and again, there's a whole host of numbers. I'm gonna go through them in just a minute, and here's one up here, and again, I'm gonna show you right now where to look on an IRS notice to find out what that notice is. Okay, so let me go back here, and we'll go to. Let's go to. Here is a list of notices from the IRS, notices and notice codes. So you'll see this is 120 pages long about the notices. Now, again, there's so many different notices. The IRS has a notice for everything, and there's some very common. So here's one that's very common. This is the 503, CP 503. So I have this highlighted up on top here. I'm going to highlight it again up here. You can see it. This is where you'll see where the notice is. Notice CP 503. It's right up here and on the top here. And this is what tells you what notice it is. If I go back to that now, if I just go to Google or DuckDuckGo and I put in IRS Notice CP 503, a lot will come up and tell me what it means. The IRS will have a site. You can go in. There's lots out there about what CP 503 is. So if I just search here for 503, let's go 503. Let's see if we can get it. CP 503. We change the adjustments to income. Let's see if make sure this is CP because there's so many different ones. So 503, 504, 50, yes. We change adjustments to income on page 1 of your tax return to include expenses from form. Okay, this is moving expenses, so let me make sure this is it. This is not CP 503. You see, it's easy to get confused because they have so many different ones. We change the adjustments, as I mentioned. Here, this is the same one, CP 503. This is in Spanish. They have them in Spanish. Third notice, this is it. CP 503, third notice balance due. Okay, so look at this now. Look above it. There's 501, first notice of balance. Second notice, 431. 503, third notice. 504, fourth notice. Right? So they have to send you a number of notices. They actually send you more notices than the law requires. And it's because it's automatic, and they just send them out. And so here's 503, CP 503, and here it is. Urgent notice, pay immediately. And that, they'll always give you a deadline. Here's another version. They've changed, as I mentioned, they changed some of the forms lately, but some of them are still the same. Usually it's up here. Again, I'm going to highlight it up here at the top. CP 64, you'll see it up here at the top. This is where the notice is, and this is where you can find out what it is, what the notice is, and where to go. And go again, do DuckDuckGo. Go to DuckDuckGo. Put in IRS CP 64. It'll pop up what it is and what it means. Again, some are more important than others. This final notice of intent to levy, they'll send you one when they're taking your state tax refund, for instance. They'll send you a notice to tell you that, and it looks like it's the final notice of intent to levy. And it is the final notice to take but not the final notice before they go after your bank account or go after your wages, right? So there's a series of letters that the IRS must send out before they could take anything away from you. So I'm going to go back to this. Here's the list here. This list, again, it's 120 pages of different notices. Two things the IRS does better than anybody else. They have a form number for virtually everything. Here's 120 pages worth. And they use acronyms for everything. If I could, AFE, acronyms for everything. Well, I just made that one up. I don't think they use that one, but they do use acronyms for everything, and it becomes very difficult to know what they're talking about. Kind of like the military, right? They use different terms and acronyms, and nobody ever knows what they're talking about. And I think that's the way they want it. So again, too many people, and maybe I should go back to this letter about what to do. Let me go back here because, okay, so I'll just review this quickly with you. Review the letter carefully. Search the notice. Again, you should know what it is, and you'll know what it is. You could read it and find out, but you won't know. You'll know more if you look it up on DuckDuckGo. Look it up. Take prompt action. And again, this is too many of my clients do not do that. Respond to any disputes within the notice. Again, I think it is important that you respond and put it in writing so that you can, and again, that may or may not be effective, but at least I'll have a track record that I did respond and that I objected to what they're trying to do. Determine whether the notice is a request for payment. Okay, most of them do. You know that if you owe the IRS money, they're always going to be asking for money. Never ignore an IRS notice. Very good advice, but too many people do not follow this. Too many people ignore the IRS notice. Again, a lot of times they do not throw it away. They generally have a drawer full of them. And again, they'll come to see me and they'll have an armful of them. Many times unopened, sometimes again open, but they'll admit that they opened it on the way to see me because they don't want to look at it. And then 7, contact the IRS. It's funny that the previous one said don't call the IRS. Do remember there is usually no need to call the IRS. And then this one, of course, this one's from the IRS. This other one's from another website, Million Acres, I think it is. And they had, they wrote this article based on the email that I told you about, that I received. Okay, so again, if you get a notice, take action, open the mail. It's not going to hurt you more or less. Again, I know people want to put their head in the sand and forget about it. And many people believe that, well, I'm going to pay them next month, so I'm not going to read it now. I don't have the money to do it. But sometimes these notices are very important to stop the IRS from coming after you. When you receive a notice of intent to levy with the right to file a case, then that one, you have 30 days. If you file an appeal, they can't come after you until after the appeal's over. So you just bought yourself some time. And otherwise, after that 30 days goes by, they can start garnishing your wages. They can levy your bank account. They can start taking things away from you. And that's exactly what you're trying to avoid. Okay? So sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it takes several years, and I've seen many cases that go on a long time before they get that final notice of intent to levy. Before the pandemic, I think they were getting very aggressive, coming after people in the same year, and that was something I had never seen before. But I had seen it before the pandemic. Now they're behind again, and will they ever catch up? I don't know. We'll see if they'll ever catch up. But okay, so I'm going to sign off. But thanks so much. Again, you get a notice. Follow the good advice in that. Find out what the notice is, and then call someone to get help. Well, that's my advice to you. Call us. Remember now, we're here at. First, before I tell you that, I'm going to tell you to like, subscribe, share. We need you to help us get this information out to people. Too many people have IRS problems and don't do anything about it because they don't know where to go. They don't know what it means. That's why this series is about telling people what the IRS is doing and what you can do to respond. So like, subscribe, share. I'd appreciate it. And if you know someone with an IRS problem, or if you have an IRS problem, then get a copy of my book, Deal with Your IRS Problem Today. It's free. Go to freeirsbook.com, freeirsbook.com. And I'm going to ask you to pay a little bit in shipping and handling. But I'm going to send you a book with reports, the 4 things you can do, the 4 things you should know if you have unfiled tax returns, the 3 things you should never say to the IRS, the 6 things you can do if you owe the IRS money, these types of reports. They're all in there. I am trying to put a report up, a copy of this book for free, a digital version. So if I don't have to ship it to you, I won't charge you. Right? I'm only charging for the shipping. So anyway, go to freeirsbook.com, free, irsbook.com. Get yourself a book. And again, like, subscribe, and share this information. So thanks so much for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.